r/Askreddit. What's the stupidest way you've hurt yourself? I was being attacked by aliens in a dream. When they backed me into a corner, I kicked one hard in the head. I woke up immediately in pain. I had just kicked my wall in real life. Badly sprained my ankle, couldn't walk properly for a week. I once went on my balcony to smoke a cigarette, only I forgot there was no balcony anymore because it was getting fixed. So I broke my leg falling one story down. Now the real irony was, my mother wanted to fix the balcony because it was old and she was afraid it might break off and I might hurt myself. In high school I was showing off with a staple gun and accidentally stapled myself in the chest. Then, when telling the story later, picked up a staple gun to demonstrate and accidentally did it again. I am not a clever person. I've sneezed and had a sharp neck pain for a week after. This has happened more than once. Jumped from the roof of our house when I was 10, to see if it hurts or I'll survive. When I landed it was like an electric shock on my feet. Edit. I survived and yes it was stupid, but when you are a child you tend to brag anything to your friends, so yeah. Did hurt like hell though. Just realized I have one for me too. When I was in like middle school I was shaving my legs and then I brought the razor up to put it back on the shelf and I held it too close to my body and I cut my nipple open. Hurt so bad. Didn't tell my parents or see a doctor, just had a swollen cut nipple for a while. I know it sounds very Looney Tunes, but I actually stepped on the head of a rake once and the handle hit me in the face. When I was 13 I was walking down my street and there was a bee that landed on me right under my eye. In a brilliant move I brain farted and punched myself in the face trying to swat it away. Alright, so my sister is only 1 year older than me and when we were very young, me 3, and her 4, we were in the bath together. I guess my mom thought this way was easier. She left to get something and my sister said that I should dive into the tub like a dolphin. Me, being the idiot toddler I was, decided this was a wonderful idea and dove right in. Had to get 3 or 4 stitches and a lifetime of stories told about it. My brother was teasing me while I was doing homework, think I was maybe 8 or 9 at the time, and after a few minutes, I snapped. Took my pencil, and went to jab him with the eraser end, so as to not hurt him too badly and get him to shut up. To get a bit more force behind it, I decided to wrap my index finger over the other end, the end with the point. I'm sure you can guess what happened next. A lot of crying and a trip to the emergency room later. I had a pencil point being removed from my finger. Not about me but someone who sat next to me in a class a while ago. She was clipping her toenails and a big toenail flew up and hit her in the eye and she had to go to the doctor cause it cut her eye. So she has a bandaged eye for a while, lol. Happened 6 years and 3+ days ago. Was home alone early afternoon. Believed I was home alone. But then I heard a noise that I thought was inside the house. No one else should be home but me, so I was spooked. I crept out and listened for movement and thought I heard a voice downstairs. I tried to sneak down the stairs but only made it to the first step. By the second step my heel slipped out from under me and I planted hard on the step and slid down to the last 3 steps, finally able to stop. My shoulder was sore trying to save myself on the rail. My back is beat to hell from hitting all the steps down. My tailbone is pulsing, nothing but pain. Trying to get up made it worse. Nothing felt broken. I was able to get up after a minute or so and baby step around the corner where I found the source. It was my neighbors talking in their backyard, and brother had his window open allowing it to carry into the house. For 5 years if I sat longer than an hour my tailbone/coccyx hurt. Watching movies, which I love, was always troublesome. I got seat cushions for it that I couldn't go without at home. About 7 months ago it just stopped. No more pain. I was 8 years old and running home on my lunch break so that I could watch Inspector Gadget, which came on at noon. I decided it would be neat to look down at my feet while I ran, and next thing I know I've run full speed into a parked car. I think I laid like a dead body on the road for a good 5 to 10 minutes, it hurt so badly. I was late for my Inspector Gadget episode and never told anyone what happened. Drank from a glass bottle while walking. Knocked out a piece of my tooth. When I was 5, I was rushed to the ER twice in the same week. First I slid down the banister as the door below swung open and I crashed head first into the corner of the door. Then 3 days later I was playing on the radiator, slipped off, and smashed my head again. Doctors thought my parents were abusive and there was an investigation over it. Apparently. When I as a kid I was chopping wood, missed the log and went straight into my rain boot. I was leaning over a fence post trying to bend straight a nail I'd just mishit and bent. Only rather than use the claw of the hammer, I used the face of the head of the hammer, slipped off and smashed myself in the forehead. A good 15 years later and I still have a scar on my forehead like a shit Harry Potter. I gave myself a black eye in my sleep. Rolled into the corner of the nightstand. Buried at the bottom so I am safe. I was at work in a high-stress office complex in Virginia. The work made you eat quickly and often at your desk. I was eating a baby carrot and tortilla chips, when all of a sudden I get stabbed with the edge of a chip midway chewing a carrot. Blood all down my throat, the chip was sharp, and I turned blue choking on baby carrots. Good times nearly getting killed by a chip and a carrot. Learned to slow down when eating. I was finishing up this intense jigsaw puzzle, which was on a low table, so I spent the entire night crouching on the balls of my feet. The next morning, my right foot turned purple and swelled up to the size of a large orange. I was on crutches for a couple of weeks. As a kid I saw a rabbit on the other side of a fence so I tried to climb over. Knowing full well it was hot wire. Naturally I fell off the wood between the wires and damned near electrocuted myself when I fell onto the wire. Never did get a hold of that stupid rabbit. As a kid I once wanted to shave myself just like my dad did. It's kinda obvious what happened next. Blood everywhere, I still have a scar on my face. Take your pick. 1. I burned the shit out my hand on a go-kart muffler trying to help the neighborhood kid push it out of a ditch. Ended up with a blister 4 inches high on my palm. 2. I was running through the house, on tile, with socks. Inevitably I slipped and had to catch myself on the couch. Unfortunately I got my finger stuck between the cushions, broke my finger. Both of these happened in the same year. Bit a goldfish cracker at an odd angle and stabbed my gums. Once as a child I lit a dryer sheet on fire thinking it would burn really fast because it's just fluff, right? Nah, it's more like plastic. And started dripping flaming molten balls of hatred on my floor. I was scared. I panicked. I shook the dryer sheet. A few molten plastic lava ball burns on my face and arms later. I now respect the laundry and leave it to my wife. As a security guard I was running to deal with an issue and my flashlight came out of its pouch, went between my foot and the ground. Stepped on it and broke my ankle. Torn rotator cuff through means of self-loving. Tried to open a wine bottle with a knife because the cork was stuck inside and my drunken self stupidly thought that if I cut around the cork with a knife, I could just pull it out. I almost cut off my entire finger and had to go to the A&E. Also, as a child I was very tubby, particularly around my waist. One day I was frying something in a flat pan and I wondered how close I could get my stomach to the pan without burning it. I burned it. And I still have a very slight scar to remind myself of how much of an idiot I can be. Broke my foot kicking the tires of a car I was considering buying. I went to take a plate of Totino's pizza rolls out of the microwave. The plate was so fucking hot that I dropped it. Molten cheese bounced up and was burning through my ankle. I went to stick my foot in the sink to run it under cold water as if I am flexible enough to stand on one foot and get my leg up that high. I fell backwards and cracked my head like an egg. I had a 3rd-degree burn on my ankle, 2nd-degree burn on my fingers and 6 staples to the dome. For fucking pizza rolls at age 30. Anybody who has TMJ knows you can aggravate it in the stupidest ways. When I was in high school I was eating an apple and my jaw completely froze as I was taking a bite. The apple was just hanging from my mouth suspended by my teeth. I looked like a horse with brain damage. I had to get my dad to extract the apple from my mouth. It hurt like a bitch for a long time. I couldn't chew or talk properly for months and my entire face was crooked because my jaw was stuck off to one side. It healed eventually, but later I set it off again by eating a cookie. I once set it off by yawning too wide. It sometimes goes off on its own for no reason. I wish I knew what it was like to have a working jaw. Poked my eye putting on safety glasses. There was a wasp drowning in the pool and I scooped it up and saved it. In return, it stung me and my hand ended up swelling to twice its size. Will never trust one of those monsters again. Got my lip stuck in a Raymune bottle. Remember when your parents told you to tie your laces or you would hurt yourself? Well, they were right. I was that kid who ran with untied laces. I fell and instinctively put both my arms out. I landed on my right hand/arm and managed to snap my forearm and dislocate my wrist. As I had dislocated my wrist before, as I was accident prone, I attempted to pop it back in myself in panic. I can't describe the crunchy noise that my arm made, or the pain I felt. I then had to walk to the nurse's office at my school, and wait for my parents to pick me up. They didn't think it was serious. At the hospital the x-ray was a little extreme, and I had to have surgery to correct my arm. 14 years later, and my wrist still isn't the same, and it still hurts in the cold. Life tip: tie your fucking laces. Cut myself with a pretzel. Twice. I was shooting basketball when I was a kid and kept missing. I got really mad and threw the ball as hard as I could because I was done. It ended up hitting the pole and bounced back hard enough that it smashed me in the face, completely off my feet, and I smashed my head on the asphalt. Dislocated my shoulder by throwing a frisbee really hard. Fell asleep while riding a bicycle. I was sober, but going to school full-time and working a part-time job. Knocked myself unconscious and got pretty banged up. It hurt when I woke up on the pavement. I tried to iron a shirt while I was wearing it and burned my boob. I was listening to music while getting ready to cook dinner and decided to use the frying pan as a mic. Did one of those look away from the mic to take a breath moments only to turn back dramatically at a powerful lyric and hit myself in the face with the pan. I thought it was a great idea clean a Gillette with my fingers. I had a shitty little zipline in my backyard. I tried to go piggyback on my friend on the zipline. Concussed, sad face. I was at volleyball practice and celebrated we made a point. I did this by jumping and pulling my legs in the air in front of me, like gymnasts do to form a 90-degree angle. Turns out this is a bad idea when you are in front of the net. My feet got caught in the net and I fell backwards. Broke my fall with left wrist, which broke arm. I put my finger on a cigarette lighter. It was an older car, so I assumed it wasn't working anymore. Well, turns out it was working. In 5th grade, I had to do a science experiment in which I dropped a penny and listened to the sound. I then had to see if the sound changed when the temperature of the penny was different. For the cold penny, I put in the freezer. For the hot penny, I placed it directly on top of a light bulb and left it on for a few hours. Realizing the light bulb might be hot, I turned off the light before grabbing the penny. However, I forgot the penny could also burn me, having been on the bright light for several hours. And that's how I, stupidly, got painful blisters on my fingers. I biked into a bee. There just happened to be a bee hovering in the path I was going, and it stung me in the eyelid. Of course, that startled me so much that I crashed my bike. I was holding a spoon in my mouth, just holding it with my mouth, my hands weren't holding on, and I dropped something on the floor. I bent down to get it and the handle of the spoon caught the table in front of me, jamming the spoon into the roof of my mouth. Blood exploded everywhere. That's right. I cut myself with a spoon. In high school I tried to give the guy standing in front of me a light kick to the arse since we were joking around, and I don't know how but I slipped backwards. Obviously I have reflexes and tried to break my fall. By breaking my arm in 3 places. Yay. Also I once stepped on my own finger while struggling to put on my shoes. Tried stomping my foot in with my hand still gripping the sole. I hate my brain. Sneezed, hit my face on the kitchen counter and split it open. Got stitches.